Hi there. Today we are going to discuss about determining human resource needs. So let's get started. So in today's lecture, let me discuss you the contents we are going to cover. What is human resource management? We will discuss about human resource planning. What is recruiting, selection, training, and compensation? So how do we define human resource management? It is also called HRM in short. So the human resource management could be defined as the processes of finding, developing, and keeping the right people to form the qualified workforce. And the human resource management is considered to be the most important and difficult management task. And then we have the human resource planning. It is using the organizational goals and strategy to forecast the human resource needs in terms of attracting, developing, and keeping the qualified workforce. So what is workforce forecasting? Forecasting simply means, as we all know, that we try to predict into the future. We try to project what will be the future like. For example, we forecast how many people we need in next month, how many people we need in next 3 months or 4 months. So we do forecast the manpower. And there are different processes of doing the forecasting. So the process of predicting the number and kinds of workers with the specified skills, abilities that organization need in the future. So there are different ways, different types of doing forecasting. So number one is internal forecast. So what is internal forecast? It is the projection about factors within the organization that affect the demand and supply of the human resources. And then we have the external factors. Now these are the projections about factors outside the organizations that affect the demand and supply of the organizations. Now these factors include the labor supply of the specific types of workers, the economy, and the labor unions. There are three kinds of forecasting: direct managerial, best guess, and statistical and historical ratios. So direct managerial, it is the input which is based on the straightforward projections of cash flows, expenses, financial measures such as return on capital. Or best guess could be the best estimate. So what is a best guess or estimate? It is based on manager's assessment of the current headout, plus a best guess of how internal and external factors will affect the headcount. The statistical and historical ratio, they use the statistical methods such as the simple regression method, combination with the historical data to predict the number and the kind of workers a company should hire. For example, a manager can run the regression analysis of the past 2 years, past 3 years, or the past 5 years. And that's how, by running the regression analysis of the past data, they can estimate that how many people we need for the next 3 months, for the next 6 months. Now, what is HRIS, Human Resource Information Systems? Now, before I explain the 6 components of HRIS, now the HRIS, in fact, that is a complete biodata of the employees. The HR department of any organization, they keep the data, the date of joining, the status, the wages, the age of the employees. So the data, the record of the workers of any organization that is being kept by the HRIS. So what is it, HRIS? It is the computerized systems for gathering, analyzing, storing, and disseminating information related to the HRM process. And what does it contain? It contains the 6 components. For example, it has the personal data, date of birth, the date of joining, the work history, the performance appraisal, how good is the worker, promotion data, did the worker is being given any kind of promotion, educational data, the qualification of the worker, complete employment history. Recruitment, it is the process of developing a pool of qualified job applicants. And what is a job analysis? It is a purposeful, systematic process of collecting information on the important work-related aspects of the job. And when I say how the recruitment can be done, there may be many ways, but here we are going to discuss 4 ways of recruiting. So number one is work activities. Now these are what the workers do, how they do it, when and why they do it. The tools and equipments used to do the job. What kind of devices, the computer systems do you need to do that particular job? The extent in which the job is performed, such as the actual working condition or the schedules. Are you going to work in office? Are you going to work in the field? Are you going to work in an oil refinery? So where are you going to work? That is called the context. The personal requirements are the performing the job, meaning the knowledge, the skills, abilities needed to do well to do that job. So does the person who is going to be recruited has appropriate skills and abilities for that particular position? Now we have job description and job specification. Generally speaking, they consider to be similar, and we sometimes we get confused in these two terms, but there are thin line differences between job description and the job specifications. Job description is what? It is a written description of the basic task, duties and responsibilities required of an employee holding a particular job. Whereas the job specification, it is a written summary of the qualification needed to successfully perform a particular job. So what is the difference between description and specification? Description are the tasks and the duties that are assigned to the worker, that this particular worker will do this kind of job. For example, a task is given to the entry level job that this worker will do the data entry, and this worker will do the interviews, and so on. Job specification are the education, that is the skills, that is the experience or qualification required for that particular job. And then again, there are two types of recruiting. Number one is internal and external. As the name says, internal recruiting, it is a process of developing a pool of qualified job applicants from people who already work in their organizations or in that company. So internal recruitment means that people will be recruited within the same organization, maybe within the same department or from different departments, but within the organizations. The external recruiting is a process of developing a pool of qualified job applicants outside the company. Now, for example, advertisements, walk-in interviews, newspapers. So remember, the external recruitment, the people, they are being hired, the candidates, they are being asked for the walk-in interviews, their job being published in the newspapers or advertisements. So the organization, they try to recruit people from outside the company. Now, what is the selection? It is a process of gathering information about the job applicants to decide who should be offered a job. Now, once the organizer receives the CVs or biodata of their organizations, of their candidates, then before they do the selection, the organization, they go through the detailed selection process where they try to determine that how much information, how much education the applicant has. In other words, selection is a process of gathering information about the candidates. And there are different steps of selection, for example, validation. So validation is the process of determining how well the selection test or the procedures predict future job performance. The better or more accurate the prediction of the job performance, the more valid the test to be. And then we have the application forms and resumes. Now they both contain similar information such as the name of the candidate, the address, the job, and education history. Application forms may ask applicants only valid job-related information. So these are the major steps of selection. Now then we have reference and background check. Now as the name says, before the organization they select the candidates, it is very important for the organization to check their backgrounds, whether they do have any kind of criminal history, whether the documents they have produced to the organization aren't they fake documents, and so on. So employment references, what are these? These are the sources such as the previous employers or co-workers who can provide job-related information about the job candidates. So the best references or background check would be the previous employer who can give the detailed information how was the candidate, whether he was very friendly, very cooperative, very hardworking, or whether it has a behavior problem and so on. And then we have a background check. These are the procedures used to verify the truthfulness and the accuracy of the information the applicants provide about themselves, and to uncover the negative job-related background information not provided by the applicants. And sometimes when the organization, they do check the backgrounds, there are some information that applicants, they have not shared with the organization because they believe that once you're going to share the information, they may have lesser chances of being selected. So it is a responsibility, duties of the organization to have a complete background checks. And the organization, they may ask any applicants if there is anything they would like to know, or if they expect you to hear anything unusual when contacting the references. Now, there are different aptitude tests, and they are also called the selection tests. So they give the organizers and decision makers a chance to know who will likely to do well in a job and who won't. Now, remember, the selection tests, they are usually the mid-level or low-level jobs. The managerial job, they usually rest only on the interviews and the experiences. They don't need any aptitude test, or they don't need any selection test, because the candidate is already experienced, mature person. So these selection tests are usually meant for the entry-level jobs, or sometimes for the mid-level jobs. So these selection tests give organizers and decision makers a chance to know who will likely to do well in the job and who won't. Now, there are specific ability tests. These measure the extent to which an applicant possesses the kind of ability needed to do a job well. We have cognitive ability test. So what is it? It measures the extent to which applicants have abilities in perceptual speed, verbal comprehension, numerical aptitudes, and general reasoning. Then we have biographic data. Now, these are the extensive surveys that ask the applicants questions about their personal backgrounds and life experiences. Do they have any certificates? Have they ever gone through any kind of a trainings, and so on. And then we have the personality test. It measures the extent to which applicants possess different kinds of job-related personality dimensions. Remember, in the previous lecture, we discussed the 5 dimensions, 5 big personality traits. So that is a kind of test, personality. And then we have the work sample test. It requires the applicants to perform tasks that are done on the job. For example, when you apply for any kind of organization, say a bank, so the work sample test, the organization, the bankers, they may ask you to spend one complete day in a bank. They give you some kind of a task, for example, how to do the posting of a check. So you only do the posting of a check in the whole day. So that is a work sample test. Interviews, it is a selection tool which company representative asks applicants the job-related question to identify if they qualified for the job, for the given job. Now, every organization, they engage in interviews, whether you apply for the entry-level job, you apply for the middle-level job, or the high-level job, managerial jobs. Interviews are conducted almost in every organization across the board. There are 2 types of interviews, unstructured and structured. Now, the unstructured interviews, the interviews are free to ask the applicant they want. It doesn't mean they have a complete freedom. In fact, in the unstructured interviews, the interviewers, they follow some guidelines, but again, they can ask questions related to the job. Whereas the structured interviews, they are where the representative, they use predetermined set of questions to the applicants. In fact, when you appear in any kind of interviews, organizations follow the unstructured and the structured interviews. They follow both the techniques. Training, performance, appraisal. Now, what are these? Developing the skills, experience, and knowledge employees need to perform their jobs or improve their performances. Training is a compulsion for any organizations in order to make their workers more motivated to develop the skills to make them advance. Training is provided by the organizations. They may last for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, and so on. So we have the needs assessment. It is a process of identifying and prioritizing the learning needs of employees. In other words, what needs, what training should be provided to the workers. Maybe the weak areas, that is the area where the training must be provided to the workers. So that is called the need assessment. And then we have the performance appraisal. It is a process of assessing how well the employees are doing their jobs. Employees that are giving the ill performance, or we can say the bad performances, it means they need to be trained. And then we have the 360-degree feedback. It is obtained from the boss, subordinates, peers, co-workers, and the employees themselves. Now, what does 360-degree means? It means information about the worker would be gathered from everywhere. The people, his friends, his colleagues, his supervisor, his manager, whosoever. So the information about the worker performance would be gathered from everywhere, and that's why the name implies 360 degree. Compensation is very important. Now, compensation could be the salary that is being given at the end of the month, or that could be the wages, or that could be the commission. Commission usually given to the salespeople. The more sales you do, the more commission you get. So what is the compensation? It is the financial and the non-financial rewards that organization give employees in exchange for their work. And there are four kinds of compensations. Number one is pay level. Now, what are these? Whether to pay workers at a level that is below, above, or at the current market wages. In fact, when you work for any organization, usually they give you the wages that they align with the current market wages. There may be very few cases that if you have the experiences, if you have vast experience, maybe you get the wages, the pay level above the current market wages. And then they have the pay variety, piecework, commission, and profit sharing. Piecework, if you are in a manufacturing organization, for example, you produce footballs, so you may get the wages per hour, or you may get the salary at the end of the month, and then each football you make, you get, for example, $10. So that is what, for one football you get $10, apart from your monthly salaries. And then we have a pay structure. Is it hierarchical or compressed? And then we have employment benefits. These includes the wages, the salaries, such as the perks, the insurance policies, the medical, the housing facilities, transportations, pension plans, and then we have schooling for kids and so on, so on. I hope you enjoy my lecture. Thanks for listening.